Most of us know the feeling, the low-level hum of career dread. You wake up, clock in, and go through the motions to satisfy a boss, a parent, or a culture that expects you to climb a ladder you don't actually care about. When we feel this stuck, we tend to look at the great innovators of history and assume they possess something we don't. We tell ourselves that true greatness is the result of a biological lottery, a magical, unreplicable brain. We look at Albert Einstein and see an intellect operating on a completely different plane of reality. We look at Marie Curie and see a scientific mind practically predestined to uncover the secrets of the universe. We even apply this to physical dominance, viewing Tiger Woods as someone born with a physiological gift the rest of us could never match. But author Robert Greene argues this assumption is completely backwards. In his book, Mastery, he points to a hard biological fact. Your exact genetic makeup has never occurred before, and it will never happen again. You possess a seed of radical uniqueness. In childhood, this shows up as a primal inclination, a deep, almost unexplainable draw toward a specific subject or activity. To understand how powerful this inclination can be, we have to stop looking at historical icons at the peak of their success. We need to look at them at the exact moments they were considered absolute failures. Because as long as you believe that mastery requires an innate stroke of genius, you have a built-in excuse to ignore your own inclinations. You remain trapped in that gray hallway, never discovering what you were actually meant to do. Consider Charles Darwin. Long before he was a globally renowned scientist, he was a terrible student. He failed to meet his father's expectations in medicine and the church, and was openly labeled a family disgrace for spending his time wandering outside catching bugs and rats. Or look at Leonardo da Vinci. Born out of wedlock, he was barred from attending universities or practicing the noble professions of his era. What rescued both of these men from historical obscurity was that deep, unshakable primal inclination. For Darwin, it was an uncontrollable obsession with collecting biological specimens and meticulously observing the variety of life in the dirt. For Da Vinci, it was an intense entrancement with the wild forests outside his village. He was so compelled to capture the shapes of rocks, waterfalls, and birds that he would steal rare, expensive sheets of paper from his father just to draw them. These early struggles occurred because their unique biological drives could not be contained by the rigid, narrow boxes society tried to force them into. Society applied immense pressure on them to walk a safe, predictable route. Darwin was pushed toward the clergy, Da Vinci toward an acceptable bourgeois trade. Finding their life's task required aggressive rebellion against those expectations. Darwin took a massive leap of faith to escape his father's plans. He secured an unpaid position on the HMS Beagle, sailing around the world to do the one thing he actually loved: collect specimens. But rebelling against the norm doesn't automatically yield greatness. You have to submit to a rigorous process Greene calls the Ideal Apprenticeship, a specific 3-step framework utilized by almost every master in history. Step 1 is deep observation. Before forming any grand theories of evolution, Darwin spent his early months on the ship silently watching the power dynamics of the crew and absorbing the sheer reality of the environments he explored. Step 2 is skills acquisition. Rather than waiting around for bursts of divine artistic inspiration, Da Vinci embraced the grueling, tedious boredom of grinding pigments, studying metallurgy, and learning chemistry in his local studio. Only after observing the environment and acquiring those foundational skills do you reach step 3, experimentation. This is where you finally break the established rules and begin asserting your own original style. To see what this phase actually looks like in practice, consider that Darwin devoted 8 agonizing years exclusively studying a single type of crustacean, the barnacle. He needed an extreme microscopic level of detail to properly test and prove his emerging ideas. Mastery requires using that childhood passion as high-octane fuel, providing the psychological stamina to survive the thousands of grueling repetitions that the apprenticeship phase demands. The breakthroughs of the Renaissance and the theory of evolution resulted from the alignment of a raw childhood obsession with a decade of rigorous, disciplined practice. To begin your own internal excavation, you have to look backward. Think about when you were 4 or maybe 10 years old. Identify the specific objects, subjects, or forms of play that gave you a visceral thrill, long before society stepped in to tell you what was practical or profitable. You have to clear away the noise, the well-meaning advice from parents, the expectations of your peers, the allure of corporate status. All of it has to be muted so you can clearly hear that original, primal impulse. Once you unearth that inclination, your directive is straightforward. Find a niche that fits your unique wiring, submit to the tedious, repetitive work of learning the foundational skills, and build your life around it. Deep fulfillment comes from giving full expression to your unique DNA by completing your life's task.